I think the challenges they're facing can really be summarized into one singular category, and that's workload and application requirements. In this day and age, they're ever evolving, they're ever increasing, and networking teams are basically trying to meet those as best as they can. And it really falls into three focus areas as well, of performance, accessibility, and control. And specific to performance, most educators and students are not just running applications on their desktops and laptops. They're running it on multiple servers. They're running it on dozens, maybe even hundreds of potential servers or nodes and devices out there. And that can pose a lot of challenges to networking teams on how to support it. And so you start to see things like lower latency and speed really become important, because when you have potentially hundreds of devices that all need to talk together for a specific workload, that can be a challenge if you don't have low latency and high performance of speed. So in addition to that, accessibility also becomes an issue, because they don't want to just run that workload in the data center. They want to run it across the building, across the campus. So having the availability of a connection, a port, or even wireless connectivity across a data center, a building, a campus, or even a remote campus becomes a lot more important. And then lastly, control. In addition to all of the requirements, the networking teams are generally challenged with trying to maintain a certain amount of segmentation, isolation, security, compliance, et cetera, et cetera. And they want to wrap that all up in a bow with automation where they can. So it's a lot of challenges, but I think that's kind of the areas that I see a lot of them focusing on. In my opinion, I think, when a higher education institution is looking to work with a vendor, I think there's three values that a lot of them are going to look for. The first is going to be technical expertise. The second is going to be speed, and the third is going to be overall customer experience. And when it comes to technical experience, they're looking for expertise in cutting-edge bleeding technologies, because most of the higher education institutions are not looking to do off-the-shelf. They're looking to do bleeding edge, cutting edge, and they're looking for someone that can go toe-to-toe, step-by-step with them to help marry their requirements with a solution that fits their needs. And addition to that, speed is of utmost importance to them, because a lot of times they have a certain window of time to put together a solution, to put together a configuration, get quotes back from manufacturers, et cetera, et cetera. And speed is extremely important in how a vendor will respond and provide information back to the customer. And then lastly, overall customer experience. I think they value having a vendor that owns a project from beginning to end, from design and architecture to execution and building to the ongoing support of the solution that has been sold.
I love that. The other thing I think about is that grants don't grow on trees. And so two components that I like to think about is longevity. So if you have platforms that will last a while, even if it means that you might be moving them into new spaces and use cases, but they're still relevant, I think that's really important. And the other thing is quality. Really what it comes down to is bugs, uptime, how reliable is the platform. And one thing that I'll say, I will toot Nokia's horn a little bit, is that on the quality side, we have 2 times less the amount of bugs and security issues than our next competitor. The next one from there is 30 times, they have 30 times more challenges. And so, at the end of the day, the secret sauce for us is we pair up structurally 1-to-1 developer with 1 QA engineer, and market standard is really around 3-to-1. So anytime you have 3 developers hammering on 1 QA engineer, you're bound to have challenges as well.
Yeah, and I think you definitely nailed it with the number of bugs. You look at a lot of the other network manufacturing companies, you can definitely see that there's a massive difference in the number of quality related bugs and issues that they run into. And I think Nokia kind of keeping steadfast on the ability to keep the bugs down, keep the quality of the product up, is definitely paying off in spades.
It's really competitive in the universities. You were talking about the need for constantly updating the technology that they have in place, and that's because they need relevant programs. Relevant programs attract the best students, more students, better for business, students that produce better outcomes, more money, they will then donate back to the school, higher endowment. So it's really important for them to have those new tools, new infrastructure, training programs, the right professors with the right knowledge to be able to help that. And I think AI is really going to change the professional landscape. You know, you'll see even vertical AI for lawyers, for doctors, that may even be more impactful than computer science professionals. And so when you think about that, it's really important that the universities keep pace.
And I think to add to that, you know, attracting good students is going to come down to bleeding edge and cutting edge. If you're not playing with the latest technology, the students are not going to be as well in tuned or well locked in. And specifically with AI, there's still a lot to be done in the AI space. There's still a lot of growth, there's still a lot of expansion, and what not the best place and in the educational level, in higher ed and in universities. So I think there's an importance there that whether or not it's well defined or not, that they still be trying to research and develop within the AI space as a way of not only attracting students, but helping to progress research in the space.
Well, obviously data is exploding, but what's more important is getting data to be in the right place. Otherwise, it's just a liability. So it's critical to have intelligent network architectures that can keep pace. There's 3 critical areas for that. First of all, you've got to have really great hardware with AI accelerated, optimization there. Second, you've got to have, let's be real, AI is just an absolute bandwidth hog. So you better have some high-speed networking, and it better be reliable. And the last thing is really what I call like an icing on the cake. So how do you have that orchestration layer that has optimized AI inputs? And really what we see is by having that intelligent network architecture, you end up realizing 3 things. 1, stability, pretty important for human psyche, for outcomes. 2, lossless data.
Yep.
So having data integrity, critical. And then finally, have the best TCO that you can. So if you can use less energy, then that's going to produce a much better outcome.
But also to expand upon that, there's a lot of newer methodologies around automation and observability. So, most engineering teams are only as good as the speed at which they can operate. Their ability to provision, their ability to onboard, and their ability to maintain and support services within the organization. So being able to use automation wherever possible is just going to make things far more efficient for them and reduce the amount of errors and issues that they might encounter, as well as helping to troubleshoot potentially and find issues within their existing architectures. And then lastly, observability. At the end of the day, you need to be able to marry all of the data that you have from a monitoring perspective with the outcomes that the rest of the university is looking for, the higher educational institution is looking for. So I think there's a lot of value to be had with automation tooling and observability tooling. So I think probably key point number 1 is continuing education and adoption of new skills. I think it doesn't matter where you are, whether or not you're in higher education or you're at organization X, Y, or Z, continuing education is a must within the engineering world. Things change so dramatically, so quickly. Look at where we were just a year or 2 ago before AI. Things have just exploded. And those hard skills of understanding technology as they're evolving are super important, and being able to embrace new technologies as they come out, understand them, and be able to adapt them to your own organization's needs is hypercritical, definitely something needed by most engineering teams. And beyond that, the embracement of automation and AI is also extremely important. And I think that more organizations, more higher education institutions really need to embrace that. A lot of customers that I've worked with are still trying to find ways of bringing in the newest technologies, not just from a physical, but also software and methodology perspective that automation and AI helps bring to the table. And then additionally, starting to embrace new methodologies around things like software-defined networking, being able to move from more of a hardware-centric architecture to more of a software-centric architecture is definitely going to be key going forward, to be able to embrace in a lightweight, quicker manner new technologies that come out when you're not completely adopted to hardware only.
What you just painted in my picture, in my mind, was don't be the dinosaur. And I think more than that, humans just get lit up when they're learning. When you're moving forward, you're a happier person, and the world could use a lot more of that.
In terms of power efficiency, I think that more and more higher education and even organizations in general are starting to measure things at a per port, per connection, whether it's wired or wireless, a lot more. It used to be that we would connect a circuit, get service lit up, and walk away. We didn't necessarily look at the efficiency of the power utilization of bringing that service online. And a lot more higher education institutions are starting to look at that. What's my per port wattage? What's my per connection? How much does that mobile user connecting to wireless cost me in terms of power? And so starting to embrace newer ways of looking at things in terms of, let's start looking at different ways of doing our physical wire topologies. Looking at fiber versus traditional twisted pair copper. And then also looking to see, even within the data center, starting to look at, hey, is this a right use case for us to look at replacing these aging twisted pair copper with newer fiber that it traditionally uses less power than twisted pair copper?
What we're seeing is aspects around reliability, and universities are really interested in that. One of the things that's probably the most expensive is human capital, right? And if you have downtime and quality problems and things aren't working, one of the neat facts around Nokia is that we actually haven't had a Sub 1 with a network outage in over 17 years. 17 years. That takes us back to before 2007. That is before the iPhone existed, which is like, a million years ago. That's what it seems like. And so that's one of the other things that we hear a lot. When people say, wow, that's really reliable, products and portfolios, that saves our human capital, and they can go do something else more interesting. Well, I want to talk about Myriad and our partnership. I think about you guys as Switzerland. And why I love that is there's three things about Switzerland that most people love. Number one, they make great products. Number two, fiscally savvy. And number three, neutral. And so what's really important for companies to look at in partners is those that will really take the requirements to heart and think about, how do I produce the best solution, the best TCO, keep you safe, keep you secure.
Yeah, and to add to that, Myriad has seen over the years, a lot of products come and go, a lot of brands come and go. And we try to, play Switzerland a little bit in terms of looking at how technologies play out. And we try to, act as technical advisors to a lot of our clients. And, we started selling Nokia products a handful of years ago, and it has been a great experience for us. And it has been a very stable set of products and services for us that over the last handful of years. And specifically, Myriad is, substantially growing our business with Nokia, and we will continue to do so based on very strategic investments that we're making in not only engineering talent, but also kind of our go-to-market resources and marketing materials. And we want to create a tighter alignment between Nokia's products and Myriad's products and services.
And the other thing that I love is that you guys are really close to the field, and so you can keep us, abreast of what's happening. What is it that we need to shift? And in any good relationship, it's always about give and take. So keeping each other honest, keeping each other effective, and being willing to do that. And I think that's what our partnership has.
100% agree.